Page ya kinana nina imbashobora kwikirizo kunyine ombwebembezi ngaruka mbashobora urugendo rumwantirizeho kumara imyaka 5 na bindi y'obwebembezi ebe nabasize gukora na nebe tarahwire nibyo bukunyanjura omukorere yanjye na nibyitungo byanjye kwikirizo umurimo gwanjye so ko kushomoreba ngo ninyore ko rugendo runakozere hinabire nasya na nobwire office yargireho kandi na nebitekateko byanjye kubane bajwana nihinagarikire kuba ninyongeraho ndigaruka kuba manyisangu obuturiyo ntukirira akawuruke 2025 abanyambarara bagarike bankwatereho umukumpagera shendekerezo mu rugendo rwo kuronda karuru mukunkereza garaka kumpa umugisha bwo kubajwekera umwishengero nubo mbugufa gupasa gamba pejejo kasirivu ndigito ati konko bandi on press conference engage entekateka yanje nengera ngo mamaramwa ukwatira no murimo gwo kuza gukora tindu kukireba mu mugasho ecyo kubanza tindu kukimbiso mu twiterere icyatari so no ija kunsasara unobura nobuza njya kubigaruka mu kubera ba mutwe abo kuba natari kwenda kubasisira munongo bwire icyo kutera karuru ko mugongo abumani yo parliament bakatwita cyankwanza bakushaba parliamentary ko kase yabire ryo mu retreat ninyushka tukaterana karurako ako kwikirizana yanhabaho umugongo narobotaba mugongo akarurako kakaterwa abamemba ba parliament abo parliament yiko owanonga mbera tindu kwishwa ngo tukatuyo mu parliament abantu babi so karabirabira ekiteso cyo museke kandi ahintari nyoni we hitari tinchine wo bamushije konkecho nacyo cyo cyukuru abo kuba abantu bakuzo mu rukiko nibazambagire kutwara ibiteso mwe na toruko basa kusimira umuntu ekinte cyayine kora yatwire ekiteso mukamasi ecyakabiri worgamoromo kasiri babo takize konkana bwo kiriyo mu kitabeki nashoboraho ubwegese bwanjye parliament ya Uganda ebicweka cyenana ahari 10 tabaragarikireyo abantu 25 aha obihira abantu nka 300 nabo bonka batungire deployment tindu kuhamya ecyo kushabira Tusiime mu mukamanze nchikwasarwa manze nkoreke ngo Tusiime no mu gwa bina akora biragushemeriye abo ko bato tokutorine buryomo ecyo necyo kubanze cya kabiri tindu kuhamya ngo umuntu wizere na rondo muro kandi nabasa gushabira ndiro so there are things that satisfy you as an individual okajoroti mweno oketo mu kishani cyo kweshana sango okakoreki ati ninjo muntu nchimushemeza yahito mu kishani cyo kugira ngo akayamba honka Tusiime. I don't remember meeting my brother until I was at parliament. I have never written a letter of application. In fact, one time we were at parliamentary exhibition ejeya hwire yimo arebere someone raised an issue on my employment in parliament. And the clerk to parliament responded, that we had to headhunt a person with particular qualifications and qualities. I am glad to have had them. So I think it's important that ahabwiro buchime kubantu gamba ebetukozere nari bitukwetenga gukora tutagamba personalities. When you see people take that route, then baba tine chogamba. Wambuze cha court of appeal. Now, let me tell you, Kasiri, and this dedication that our people must have. for anything that must come as a national service, infrastructure development and what must fall in the budget. Kandi neteekwa kugwa strategic plan y'ekitongole. Now judiciary is vote 101. Judiciary, like any other vote omwihanga, etukwa appropriating, parliament yakwa appropriating. Neteekwa kuba in a strategic plan. That plan must be passed by the National Planning Authority, NPA. Judiciary tekwemerera ekagereta hati nanka yakonkona owa secretary of the judiciary no accounting office ngutombeke koti mbarara. No, it must be in the strategic plan. It must be aligned by in the national development plan. That's how you attract a budget. Now, judiciary intended to have an expansion, especially for these courts okudecongesting abaturabine premises za court of appeal ahantu hamwe. Nari bashitamisa mu session zezi bijanga kuno kora appeal constitution ito netugirangu wazamushanguka kusinga. There are mechanisms of appealing up to the Supreme Court. Now, oyeshanga ngo emshangeri yome eyiba appealinga against the High Court decision. Nategwa ko bawo session ya Court of Appeal eyije custom court premises displacing a High Court okure emshango y'abantu. So it was a strategic endeavor in enhancing expansion of and dispensation of justice okora regional centers za appeal. If you realize no zakuri na Supreme Court Kampala bajombe kirekezi. Aha very first I want to give you a breakdown, but maybe I don't waste a lot of time. Monies were approved since, first of all, the plan for the judicial strategic plan was approved before someone went to Parliament. It was during our time. Now, when a strategic plan is approved, it follows suit to create a budget. Process your budget niningwa. The first statutory call, nezomu medium term expenditure framework koreka entasi yihangana nenshohoza ezo ministerial policy statements zona zaba appropriated by parliament. It cannot be an individual kagenda jira court. It is not possible. So I think it is a professional dishonesty for people to call themselves what they are. And I've seen this quite often in terms of even of the titles we addressed. There's a certain gentleman whose previous post bearing a title doctor. This time around, I don't see it. That's academic trespass. Now, you should interpret certain characters from such angles. So, Court of Appeal, no program ya government, echabirembarara bakana baronda actual place yokutamu Court of Appeal, bakana bashaba itakaho kujita. Hazamu contention y'ibintu bibiri. Uko identifying itaka currently area district narishi area city. Echitonga sabantu bonde nanyetinche manje. Because ko kwata koto kajita campus. Regardless of who neguma stile yo mustabo kwa state origin. Neguma neza kusavinga mbarara. Na nezentare zitakezo ronyo tinzetegereza. Because no to akuzatuka Rwanda nkecha ico mpire cyo muntu yanagamba. Churuhura ekerimbara kuyagenzere katwara ki. Ibande ekerimbara. Ijo rwampara wazimbarara. Ejo nenkurakorana bagira ngo mwaragambara hato mwagenda. Nabatera ufandi yo kombeka district headquarters kuriya hato buherezo bire burahari bugumana ubibirira. So some of those things are, it's actually not very important kugira ngo but finally all I know under the powers also belong to the council. You cannot encumber, it's by law. When Tarhumontain authority, apart from the council, when you are allocating it a carry, a Kazomo division ya title could subdividing up or approving a plan for that court to do what. So court is a government facility. Chirinkuko Teromunga Rotava and Tombire Wanjakatungo Musha. It's the entitlement. So take heart, I think let's keep to and focus on issues as Kuzakuyambamba. Nelson. Onsansere hine ebintu bishimiye kubana bye yoreko Tusiime kepanka kandi tutamera ntaka kwemera so ni nchereza abantu hanga kabahemenwa yabo kujejo nsanko kuba kwene kiryabwawe kuchondoza naroka cyenchuro karinga umuntu kiyakugambira yakikire nati kizere kita ense no kwe nakukirogo muzano gwa politics gwizere nugusisi karomuntu kwekoreza ibare eritaho okumuli akuhino we musyo mukona akagera ati ngakumu no kunda musya wanzara nkanze ntonsasiri ntoko nokwepa kwa ino manyisa. So let people be, let people talk. I like to keep focused. You know, you cannot throw stones to any barking dog. You will not reach your destination. So you can prove to yourself that Tusiime. Now, nicho churu kwenda kukora importantly. As we were sharing nabagambira priorities zamba raise. The most important thing that I need to do ekikwa isolate ngo mbindi no kushikiriza omurimo gwanyu nkamemba parliament. Wano shikiriza omurimo gwanyu nkamemba parliament byo niyo nato mukitabo ine gobakora. Turukomwe. So the most important thing that I want to do is to fulfill my mandate as a member of parliament. That means even if it's oversight, even if it is legislation, katugere all the roles that are enshrined in the constitution and the rules of procedure. Shimekuwa nizikiriza. Chimanyisa ngo it will lead me to do the same thing even listing akai. In summary, I don't know whether I want it. My brother, what are the 3 things you attribute to your loss? And to be specific, you raised an issue of now the issue of money is very hurtful, especially to the recipients, because you have surrendered your democratic right. And when you have paid money to make a choice, then you don't retain the right to ask for a service because you sold the service you ought to have gotten. So that's not for me. It's for the people, if they took the money, who are suffering the consequences. Wanjiro tekintu kyesente is also leading to violence. For me, it is disturbing not only from Barara, but a national perspective. And I think the country should take a back step so that we review our minds. I have watched carefully to see that every financial year, we are enhancing the budget of Uganda Prison Services to enlarge prisons. It means they're expecting more clients. Partly it is this. When you look at the national budget, when we are going for elections, it is enhanced for purposes of security. It means that we are anticipating violence in the elections that we are holding. You need to look at this thing in a wholesome way. Abachintu tungure sente zebyo kwerinda ombwire bw'akaruru. Are we more insecure when we are having our own elections internally to choose our own leaders? It means that we are anticipating violence emanating from issues like this. I know people, you talked about money. It is very hurtful. People sell property, people borrow. I know a member of parliament who was indicted a year later after winning an election for being indebted. It means that he pursued a venture without you can't expect such a person to offer you service, because now he must turn his focus on saving. It's a pity, but my personal experience has showed me this. In fact, I even drafted a petition to the head of state, and eventually I withdrew it. I counseled myself. I witnessed situations where people were being ferried in trucks from neighboring constituencies to come and vote here. I witnessed people who voted at polling stations that closed earlier, that a polling station in Imbakuta votes and closes, and the voters cross over to Nkokonje. I witnessed situations where there was flip of people's results. You get 200 votes here, at the tally center, they announce 26, and they give the other character much more. But you know, the consequence is not about those results. It's about that person fitting in office and having a feeling that he has the credibility to lead people. When you have, that's another matter. For me, this is not a meeting that I can exhibit my strategies for vote protection, because I am not sure that they are not agents of the person who intends to do the crime that I'm protecting against. So save me that for my own strategies internally. But I want to give you assurance that you don't slap me twice and I stay calm. My intentions have always been clear. I have lost elections before, I have won some. My description is not about winning an election. All the time an election ends, I pick experience. And when you read my memos, it shows you how I am growing by experience, but I don't lose focus on what I intend to achieve. Now, having a description of being good at cheating elections is not, I cannot join that clan. I belong to this clan of teaching people to get out of that vice, to get credible leaders. Because most often than not, those leaders that emanate out of situations like this, you have seen the service they have offered. People sit back, they don't work, they expect to carry out the same vice in the next election cycle. But individuals in Anabantu, Tabeta Basuru all the time, people will sit, evaluate. Right now, what Imbara needs is not someone who is good at stealing elections, is a person who is good at delivering a service. And that's my conviction. And I have confirmed that by the large numbers of people who have come here this morning. You are trying to interrogate the minds of people to see a person that is worthy leading Imbara City. And I congratulate you upon that. Now, on the issue of joint campaigns, what is your view? Now, they gave us I have been informed that they have scheduled for a candidates meeting today at 4 p.m. I am hoping that they are going to share the guidelines that relate to that particular exercise. When we were given regulations after expressing interest, there was nothing related to how we are going to conduct campaigns. It was showing eligibility of a candidate, how elections will be held, how they count and how they declare a candidate. Then there was also a section showing irregularities in the election cycle. There was nothing related to how we are going to conduct campaigns. So I have been informed that the district registrar has called for a meeting for candidates on that particular issue. Tukatungaho joint campaigns in 2010. I remember the first rally was at Katukuru. The second rally was at Katete. The third rally collapsed. You know, there are elements who have even nothing to tell people. The best they will do is to mobilize people to make noise for those who are speaking. I think I would have advocated for this. But first of all, the number of candidates. Someone cannot have a similar concentration to listen to 8 candidates all speak. Eventually, there will be a biased mind to pick on theirs and the one they will chair. We want a moment, if it were possible. And this I appeal to you. I understand GNTV has an initiative. Why don't we line up our candidates and we have a question and session answer like this one, and we vet them properly on a debate at the city level? A campaign trail is not about exhibitionism. That's why I despise the issues that don't make a lot of sense. That's not the issue. The issue is embedded here. People don't want to know if you can afford whistles. People want to know. It's not about these goodies. This is not the time. This is a city. We should be articulating issues. Let's have a time to engage candidates. And we engage in a war of brains. And we see, to give us an opportunity to evaluate who can be a best leader among them. You demand to know the module that you should be applied. At times I think the decision is not so much about who takes it. Members of SEC are candidates, some of them. So do you think they'll take a decision that favors them? So I think, nonetheless, if joint campaigns come, I've been ready. In fact, I've been dying for that moment. And that's a moment to expose characters. Some people don't even know the job they are looking for. For me, it's not a worry. I have designed my program. I thought I would have shared it with the members of the press. I was supposed to start my mini rallies tomorrow. I have 13 parishes. I have mini rallies, 3 of them per parish for the 13 days that have been provided. But I don't want to go against the regulations of the party. I want to attend that meeting at 4. I'll give my suggestions if it is both. If it is not and they assemble us, I will comply.
Odga murimbarra ninga notekateka kwijo murimbarra abalinks youths beno buraro bwamani munonga kandi benene bitanda birungi tibakakoma buraro benene bala nungi bozirimecho kumyo cyaburi muringo benene hotelo halimu emere yachiraguju nangwa n'ekijungu kandi orende emere yo kutwara waba balinks youths nacho barakikora echo mujungu ari kweta ngo niteka we bene na sauna na steam ogesro na massage basa kubura bayikira kugira ngo akoboherezobwe parking yabo ne yamani munonga kandi nimpango ebyo kwerinda byabo biri guruguru munonga kandi abalinks youths barashango mu rwembo rwambara omuri Katete waruga parking ya boda ya St Mary's ori kwenda ku booking orabasa kurabera namba ze smage 059 kaga na mwenda kandi orabasa kugamba na director wa links youth ori kurabera namba ze smage 0 kaga nemwe 595 ogesero ne ya 0 kaga nemwe 595 twena katurukangira links youth kugira ngo tutungo buhereza burungi.
Several members of the press, it is incumbent upon us to some of these items we need to have a mindset change for our citizens. The question would be, kwa national policy ya ICT, the thinking is that when we enhance ICT, abantu nabajejwe no kutungura entasia through online and that kind of business oriented processes. Unfortunately for us, this internet that we require and the MBs that people are used for rumor mongering. So at times in the government if the president is on crossfire every day. Now, assuming that you provide free internet, it may even cause a disruption in public management as opposed to. But for those who are using it for the right purpose, especially like in Imbara, and my initiatives, laboratories in these schools, it is for a good reason. And that is why I've emphasized on it in my concept note, that it is very important for us to be aligned in that perspective. So, Munyano Wanjoa, Monitor was ebintu bindi. But I also want to challenge you. Mutuyambe adjusting a mindset yabantu vitu, because even at times when you put these platforms and facilities and people are not using them for the same reason for which they were created, it ends up not being beneficial. Sports promotion, KCCA and Imbara team. Now these are KCCA is an authority by an act of parliament. Imbara City is a local government. The budget of the other people, and you see, for you to be able to discuss some of these things, Ihangariani after passenger budget y'umwaka gwa 2025-26 ya trillion nshanju nibi. To estimating ku ihomushoro esento mushoro niyo ntase yo kubanza ya trillion 39. It means that balance ya trillion 40 must be borrowed. So when we borrow it, you borrow it for a purpose that has to be beneficial to generate the same money in the coming years. So ati wayi kuza sente no korenga utona no banza n'ikishayi chompi ibyona no byenda konkani nka budget yomuka no banzo gore byo kurya na rugore nkito. So some of these things must originate from the needs of the country, needs zituzukwayo konkana nenta sayitune kuchikachi kujerewa. So promotion of sports okwa biroroko kano hajiro mpira na koko zombwebembezi, your mindset must change if you are a people-centered person. Nkanta kubasa na kuoreka, in the 5 years I was in parliament, I spent personal money to the tune of 661.5 million shillings. That money would have bought me a farm. Nkahikanagira nti omwago kuza kutaho ompira abantu bakashamba ompira kacheka ngo kamukuzi yashamba n'ekiyanja oyina abantu abatine mizi yeyiza abantu batunja mizugo kunya bakona manyo byagana. That is visionary thinking. If my resources were perfectly elastic, I would have put sports at the same time done the other one. Conquering limitations because resources will always be scarce. The purpose for which I enlist some of these things is for you to sit back and review. Owakwatiraho abana bishomera akabashomesa. Na nowateekaho ekihago ky'omupiira abantu bakakishamba bakakika. If you are in leadership, what do you do first? That is the purpose for which I suspended, because resources are scarce. Nkole kintu koleba ngo kitunguri hanga kiriya kirija bwane. I don't know whether attending a motor rally circuit is more important than kushashura abantu babana school fees abari muri kuzo mu mashomero. And moreover, you attend a rally circuit and then again you pay. So my prayers go to the people of Mbarara, especially for the period. Now, ekintu kyakacheka during your time. Those are the small things that really break my heart. Kacheka, a hair har permanent where it is. Unless waji okachikosa ekintu ekindi. Nchimanyisa ngono bwekuba nefori ngo mu cyapa cya district nari cya city. Nikiba kiyicaye kiri. Kutukuba ntuza Nambole. I've never seen a person going to Nambole, either a competitor, a sportsman, a fan, arukubuza ngo cyapa kirinkaye. Na facility yiha kandi kwe kuzaho ene nebintu byeru kureta abantu haharuhe mipira haruki haraba kuzaguriza ebintu byabo. So when I heard of those small wrangles, for me those things are disheartening, and at the level of the leadership we should be able to sit down and solve some of those things because we are holding power and trust of the people. So Kacheka Stadium on physical plan it wakolire Mbarara actually akaroho endeavor yokuronde kishayi side ya Chwomo abakumanya Kacheko kwekingana. It is not worth the size that is there for an international stadium. Itaka bakajana batematema kusiwo mugenzo rutenda yatire hebu bati kuri yenyi mayona bakagira bata hati international stadium eshime kube ine seaters nchena murebe kishayi cha nanka cha Hoima. It requires a land that is much bigger than that, because kikuba kishayi cyo kuzanda muna rukwirukangiramo natekwa kuba training grounds natekwa facilities z'abantu kuraramo natekwa kuba hotel natekwa kuba oki. So no ija kweshanga no bakwenda ngo bateho sente zo kora ikishayi ejo ntuba tutagobamo nakabaka bakanya kacha kutwaguma tutire hoki. We should be thinking outwardly. We should be thinking of the council, thinking of appropriating money zo gura mataka kuja ngo nchakari kuba kutwa inda chayi chenyo nyecho. Before we became a city, it was one of the issues me and Hon.Robert JB, the former chairperson of the district, that we had to ask for the president. It facilitated Jakun. We had a problem abokwe nomoroka gwa bubaye egombora bubaye kuza kugiye yo na ejo zero ya Rwenturaga was intended that it becomes easier for the city to plan for an airfield. Now itakaria ya airfield ejo yokureba kijabaga kabade marketing itakarikibwa kare. So you cannot upgrade it to an airport because it must have certain kilometers of a runway and all those things. So Ebintebi is not about to an MP to gloss over issues that they are long term. Wangambire cha abantu abakushoppinga Kampala. You see, we are in a free market economy. A person has a right to go and buy a shirt in China, just as he has a right to buy a shirt at Chiang. When you sit and you make a decision, a business decision, you cannot go into Kampala and be cheaper than Kuvugurambara. It cannot be related to Mahanda because the road is motorable. After all, some roads in Kampala are worse than what is in Mbarara. So I think it would be an attempt to be dishonest, really to share issues that are related to personal decisions in the business area. Share a copy with you. There's a brother of mine who made promises for purposes of going to Parliament the other time. When I read the first three and the last three, my mind collapses. I think we need to stop taking people for granted. We need to share with the people, first of all, things that are related to your mandate as a member of Parliament. President cabinet. We must have a deliberate habit of being truthful and honest, the consequences notwithstanding. Because politics, but I think that's not fair. You should be, as much as possible, be able to be a person of integrity and tell the truth. Now, someone was promising through our radio etara 99.7. I don't know whose frequency that is. Ejo tinko manya radio yabeeho radio etara 99.7. I'll promote entrepreneurship development programs in Mbarara City. 2, through our newspaper etara, a quarterly publication. Now, you are members of the press. I want you to give me a copy of that quarterly publication. 3, I have established offices in 3 divisions of Kamkuzi, Kachika, Biharwe to coordinate people and inform them about our program. First of all, there are no divisions of Kachika, Kamkuzi, and Biharwe. We have one division called Mbarara City North. So even by intent, by extension, the statement is fraud. 4, sanitation to put through construction of public toilets, water points, congested areas in tax parks and slums and market. Have you seen any construction? So when I read part of these things, it really annoys me, especially when I have deliberate intent to see Mbarara grow. We should stop this political gesturing. And the members of the press, you should be the ones to help us. Transmit information that is truthful. Be open to an individual when they call you. When we are asking questions, let's stick to those questions which we think are going to uplift all of us. So I can share this with you for your future reference. Some things I don't keep them in my database, especially when the information is not truthful. Assumption that the Kajira project is fulfilled will it help solve the high water charges? I want to assume that is true, because if the supply is in abundance, naturally I would think these are issues we would deliberate, especially after the project has taken on. Extension of electricity, I talked about it extensively. I said during my term of service, my effort was upon dissemination of electricity in various places, and that was done to the extent of about 98.4 kilometers. So it is, since in the national urban policy, it's a requirement for these cities to have extension of electricity. I think it would be my role to identify those areas which have been listed in this book and fight for that. The issue of roads, the ring roads and that kind of thing. I think that's a technical perspective. The role of a member of parliament may stop on exhibiting the requirement of the roads, but now it falls under a mandate of other technical people to know which kinds of roads that are required. So I don't want to carry a cross that is not mine. Mine would be about lobbying resources to have roads built, to ring road notwithstanding. Waswa Obutari bakakora hindura emirundi 3 na 4, that one I agree, and this is where the loopholes come of oversight. Kuba passing ekintu bakachita architecture plan ekapassing kaza record ekadetermining that plan niyo determining required resources zakatari narizenjo yorukombe kakukora plan determining resources ezokwetenga na nebindi. So by the time the budget is passed, you must stick to the original. If the amendments nazo zibazine the technical specifications and justification why it was done, but overall we should focus on getting facilities and amenities that are comfortable for our residents. It is disheartening actually kuko zo mukatara ukareba okay. So I agree with you, and the loophole here I think was in oversight.
Yes, Hon.Robert, ensonga mpozi mbadde njagala twogere ku nsonga nga bbiri zimbadde njagala ku clarification. Emabegako nga tuli mu press conference era bwet somewhere bananga bamu bayinza okunjulira wano munaffe ayina